It was supposed to be just another Saturday morning at the park. Rebecca Lane, CEO of one of the nation's leading education tech firms, sat on a bench, watching her 6-year-old daughter, Emma, swing alone in silence. The child had never spoken a single word in her life. Then a stranger approached, made a few hand gestures, and Emma's lips parted. A sound came out. Her first sound. Rebecca's entire world stopped. The man smiled gently, as if he'd done nothing extraordinary at all. But for Rebecca, everything had just changed. Rebecca Lane had built an empire on control. At 34, she commanded boardrooms filled with executives twice her age, made decisions that affected thousands of employees, and never showed weakness. Her white blazer was always pressed, her heels always sharp against marble floors, her voice steady during investor calls. But none of that power could help her daughter speak. Emma had been diagnosed with selective mutism combined with severe speech apraxia when she was 2. The doctors said her vocal cords were fine, her hearing perfect, but the neural pathways connecting thought to speech simply wouldn't form. 6 years of speech therapy, specialist consultations, experimental treatments, nothing worked. Rebecca threw money at the problem like she solved everything else in life. She hired the best doctors, flew to specialists in 3 different countries, tried every method from traditional speech therapy to cutting-edge neurofeedback. Emma remained silent. The little girl communicated through drawings, crude symbols she'd trace in sand or sketch on paper. Sometimes Rebecca understood them. Most times, she didn't. It was like living with a beautiful ghost, a child who existed in a world parallel to everyone else's. Rebecca's husband had died in a car accident when she was 7 months pregnant. The grief had been devastating, but she channeled it into building the company, into being strong for the daughter she'd raise alone. Guilt gnawed at her constantly. Had the stress of losing her father while still in the womb damaged Emma somehow? Had Rebecca worked too much, been too absent during those crucial early years? She'd never know. All she knew was that her daughter lived in silence, and Rebecca had built walls of her own to match. Ethan Miller looked nothing like the high-powered professionals Rebecca usually encountered. At 36, he wore jeans and a faded Harvard sweatshirt, his dark hair slightly too long, laugh lines crinkling around his eyes as he tossed a ball with his 7-year-old daughter, Lily. He'd been a rising star once, a neuroscience prodigy who'd graduated top of his class, published groundbreaking research on childhood language disorders, headed a team at a prestigious research institute. Then his wife died. Dr. Sarah Chen had been his colleague, his partner in every sense. They'd worked together on neural pathway research, spent late nights in the lab discussing theories about how children's brains formed language connections. When she died during an experimental surgery meant to help a child patient, something in Ethan broke. He couldn't look at research data without seeing her handwriting in the margins. Couldn't walk through the institute without remembering her laugh in the hallway. So he'd walked away from it all. Now he ran a small private practice out of a converted townhouse, seeing a handful of patients, spending most of his time being present for Lily, in ways he hadn't been when consumed by his research career. He'd learned that presence mattered more than prestige. That Saturday morning, he noticed Emma immediately. The way she moved, the way her fingers traced patterns in the air, the frustrated expression when she tried to communicate with her mother. He recognized the signs. He'd seen hundreds of kids like her during his research days. When Lily's ball rolled near Emma's swing, he walked over slowly, making sure not to startle the girl. He didn't speak at first. Instead, he made a simple gesture, a modified sign language symbol for hello. Emma's eyes widened. She watched his hands carefully, then tentatively mimicked the gesture back. Ethan smiled and made another sign. Emma's mouth opened. A small sound emerged, barely more than a breath, but unmistakably intentional. Ethan's heart skipped. He'd seen this before. This moment, when a connection finally formed. Rebecca was on her feet before she realized she'd moved. She'd watched the entire exchange from 20 feet away, watched this stranger do in 30 seconds what teams of specialists couldn't do in 6 years. She approached quickly, her CEO instincts kicking in. "Excuse me, what did you just do?" Her voice came out sharper than intended. Ethan turned, taking in the woman before him. Designer clothes, perfect posture, eyes that were simultaneously fierce and desperate. He recognized that look too, the parent who'd tried everything and was running on fumes. "I just said hello," he replied calmly. "Your daughter understood me. She's never made a sound before. Not once." "How did you?" "She's trying to communicate all the time," Ethan said gently. "Look at her hands. She's been signing, just not in any standardized language. She's created her own system." Rebecca looked at Emma, who was staring at Ethan with an intensity she'd rarely shown anyone. "I'm Ethan Miller. This is my daughter, Lily. We come here most weekends. Rebecca Lane. This is Emma." There was a pause. Rebecca's mind was racing, calculating, already forming plans. "Are you a speech therapist?" "I was a neuropsychologist, specialized in childhood language disorders. I don't practice much anymore." "But you could help her." It wasn't a question. Ethan hesitated. He'd walked away from this world for a reason. "Miss Lane." "Rebecca, please. I've spent 6 years watching my daughter live in silence. You walked up, and she made a sound. The first sound of her life. Whatever you want, name it." Ethan looked at Emma, then at his own daughter playing nearby. "Let me buy you breakfast," Rebecca pressed. "Both of you. Just talk to me about what you saw." Lily came bounding over immediately, taking Emma's hand like they'd been friends forever. Kids had a way of connecting that adults had forgotten. "Can we, Dad?" Lily asked. "Emma seems nice." Ethan met Rebecca's eyes. He saw the desperation there, but also something else. Determination. The kind that had probably built whatever empire she ran, and underneath it all, the same grief he carried. "All right," he said, finally. Breakfast. They went to a small cafe 3 blocks from the park. Emma and Lily sat together, communicating in that mysterious way children do. Half gestures and half intuition. Rebecca ordered coffee she didn't drink and watched Ethan explain what he'd observed. "Emma's not just mute," he said carefully. "She's created a complete communication system based on visual and tactile symbols. It's actually incredibly sophisticated. Most kids with speech apraxia still try to mimic sounds, even if they fail. Emma's gone a different route entirely. She's bypassed the broken pathway and built a new one." "Can you fix it?" Rebecca asked bluntly. "It's not about fixing. She's not broken. It's about finding the bridge between her system and ours. I've hired 12 specialists. None of them could do what you did in 30 seconds. Ethan smiled sadly. "Because they were trying to make her fit their system. I just entered hers first." Rebecca leaned forward. "I want to hire you. Private sessions, whatever rate you want, whatever schedule you need. I don't do that anymore. I see maybe 5 patients a month now. I'm focusing on being a dad." "Then teach me. Teach me how to reach her." There was something raw in Rebecca's voice now. The CEO veneer cracking. Ethan saw it. He saw the mother underneath. The one who'd probably cried herself to sleep more nights than she'd admit. He thought about Sarah, about all the research they'd done that never made it past the ethics committee or funding cuts, about the kids they could have helped. "I'll do an assessment," he heard himself say. "1 session. Then we'll see if I can actually help, or if I'm just getting your hopes up." Relief flooded Rebecca's face. "Thank you. Really, thank you." As they left, Emma tugged on Ethan's sleeve and made a series of hand gestures. He watched, then signed back. Emma's face lit up. She made another sound. This one almost like a laugh. Rebecca felt something twist in her chest. Pride, yes, but also something uncomfortable. Jealousy. This stranger had reached her daughter in ways she never had. The first session happened 3 days later at Rebecca's penthouse. Ethan arrived with a bag full of what looked like toys but were actually carefully designed therapeutic tools. tuning forks, textured balls, light panels, rhythm instruments. Rebecca watched from the doorway as he worked with Emma. His approach was unlike anything she'd seen. He didn't try to make Emma speak. Instead, he used sound and vibration to help her feel the connection between intention and noise. A tuning fork pressed against her throat while she hummed. Drums she could hit while matching rhythm to emotion. Lights that flashed in patterns she could replicate with sounds. Emma was engaged in ways Rebecca had never witnessed. After an hour, she vocalized 3 distinct sounds, each one intentional and clear. "This is remarkable," Rebecca breathed. "How are you doing this?" "It's called sensory motor integration therapy. We're teaching her brain that sound isn't separate from feeling. That voice is just another form of touch." Over the next 2 weeks, Ethan came 4 times a week. Emma progressed faster than he'd expected. She began making consistent sounds, then sound combinations. Nothing like words yet, but the foundation was forming. Rebecca watched every session, taking notes, asking questions. She started learning the hand symbols Emma used, began trying to communicate in her daughter's language rather than always forcing Emma into hers. One evening, after Emma had gone to bed, Rebecca poured Ethan a glass of wine. "Why did you really stop doing this work?" she asked. "You're brilliant at it." Ethan stared into his glass. "My wife, she was a researcher too. We were working on a grant-funded project for children with severe speech disorders. Cutting-edge neural mapping, experimental therapies. Then she died. And I couldn't look at the work without seeing her in every data point." "I'm sorry," Rebecca said quietly. "I lost my husband when I was pregnant with Emma. Car accident. I buried myself in work because it was the only thing that made sense. Numbers and spreadsheets don't grieve." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. 2 people who'd learned to function around the holes in their lives. "Emma's lucky to have you fighting for her," Ethan said. "I'm not sure I'm fighting for her," Rebecca admitted. "Sometimes I think I'm fighting to prove I can control something, that I can fix this one thing, even though I couldn't save my husband or give Emma the childhood she deserves." "You're doing better than you think." That night, after Ethan left, Rebecca tried the signing exercises with Emma. She moved her hands slowly, forming the symbols for "I love you." Emma watched, then reached out and corrected her mother's finger placement. When Rebecca got it right, Emma threw her arms around her. No sound. But the embrace said everything. Rebecca held her daughter and cried. Really cried. For the first time in months. In the hallway, putting on his coat, Ethan heard the soft sounds of Rebecca's tears. He understood. Some victories hurt on the way to joy. By the 4th week, whispers started. Rebecca's board members wondered why the CEO was leaving work early multiple times a week. Someone saw her having coffee with some unemployed-looking guy and his kid. In the brutal world of corporate technology, image was everything. A board member called a meeting. "We're concerned about your recent distraction," James Chen, the CFO, said carefully. "There are rumors about your personal life affecting your professional judgment." Rebecca's expression went cold. "My daughter is making progress for the first time in her life. That's not a distraction. That's a priority. We're not suggesting you don't care for your child. We're suggesting you exercise discretion about who you associate with publicly. This man you've been seeing. Dr. Miller is a child psychologist helping my daughter, who walked away from his career, who has no current institutional affiliations. The optics are concerning." Rebecca stood. The meeting is over, but the damage was done. That evening, a gossip blog posted a photo. Rebecca and Ethan at the cafe. Emma and Lily holding hands. The caption reading, "Tech CEO's desperate move. Dating disgraced doctor to fix mute daughter." The article twisted everything. Called Ethan a failed researcher. Suggested Rebecca was exploiting her daughter's condition for sympathy. Implied their relationship was something sordid. Rebecca called Ethan immediately. "I'm so sorry. I'm handling it." "It's fine," Ethan said. But his voice was tight. "I've dealt with bad press before. It's not fine. They're attacking you because of me. I'll issue a statement." "Rebecca, don't. It'll make it worse." But the board had already made their decision. The next morning, Rebecca received an ultimatum. Terminate the arrangement with Ethan Miller or face a vote of no confidence. She could lose her position. The company she'd built from nothing could slip away. That evening, Rebecca sat Emma down. She tried to explain that Ethan couldn't come anymore, that they'd find someone else, that everything would be okay. Emma stared at her mother, then turned away. The next morning she was silent again, completely, utterly silent. All the progress gone. When Rebecca called Ethan to tell him, her voice broke. "She won't make any sounds. It's like we're back to the beginning." "She feels betrayed," Ethan said gently. "Give her time." "I don't have time. The board wants you gone." "If I don't comply, then comply." "Rebecca, your company is your life." "I understand. Emma is my life." "Then prove it." He hung up. That afternoon, Rebecca called an emergency press conference. The conference room was packed with journalists, cameras, board members standing in the back with crossed arms. Rebecca stepped to the podium. No prepared statement, just the truth. 6 weeks ago, my daughter made her first sound. Not because of the thousands of dollars I'd spent on specialists, not because of any cutting-edge medical treatment, because a man at a park took the time to meet her where she was instead of demanding she come to where we are. She paused, making eye contact with James Chen. Dr. Ethan Miller is not a failed researcher. He's a father who chose his daughter over his career. Something I'm apparently not supposed to do. Something that makes me look weak in your eyes. Her voice grew stronger. I'm the CEO of a company that claims to value education and child development. But when my own child needs help, I'm told to hide it, to be ashamed, to prioritize optics over her well-being. She pulled out a folder, dropped it on the podium. This is my resignation, effective if you vote no confidence. But before you do, know this. I'm restarting a research grant my company cut 3 years ago. The Silent Voices Foundation. Dr. Miller will run it. We'll help children like Emma, whose voices just need someone willing to listen differently. The room erupted. Questions shouted, cameras flashing. Rebecca walked out. She drove straight to Ethan's house and knocked. He opened the door, surprised. "I might have just lost my company," she said, "but I was hoping you'd work with me anyway." Ethan looked at her for a long moment. Then he smiled. "Yeah, I think I can do that." Inside, Emma and Lily were playing. When Emma saw Rebecca, she ran over. Rebecca knelt down and signed slowly, carefully. "I'm sorry. I chose wrong. You're more important than anything." Emma's eyes filled with tears. She opened her mouth, and in a whisper so soft it was barely audible, said, "Mama." It was the first word she'd ever spoken. Rebecca pulled her daughter close, sobbing. Ethan turned away, wiping his own eyes. Lily grabbed his hand. "Dad, why are you crying? Because some sounds are worth waiting for, sweetie." The board didn't fire Rebecca. The press conference went viral, and public support was overwhelming. Parents of special needs children wrote letters. Advocates called her brave. The board, reading the room, unanimously approved the Silent Voices Foundation with full company backing. Ethan moved his practice into an office space Rebecca secured. They worked side by side, him handling clinical research, her managing operations and funding. Emma continued therapy 3 times a week. Her progress was slow but steady. Single syllables became double sounds. Sounds became proto-words. 6 months after that first day at the park, Silent Voices held its opening gala. 200 people filled a hotel ballroom. Families with nonverbal children, researchers, donors, press. Rebecca stood at the podium, but she wasn't the main speaker. "Today, I'd like to introduce someone very special," she said. "Someone who's taught me that communication isn't always about words, it's about connection." Emma walked on stage. She wore a blue dress, her hair pulled back, her hand gripping Ethan's tightly. The room fell silent. Emma looked at the microphone, then at her mother, then at Ethan. He nodded encouragingly. She leaned forward and spoke into the mic, her voice small but clear. "Thank you, Dr. Ethan." The room exploded in applause. People were on their feet, crying, cheering. Emma smiled, the sound of all that noise washing over her like a wave. She made another sound, this one closer to a laugh. Rebecca stepped forward and pulled her daughter into a hug. Over Emma's head, she met Ethan's eyes. He was crying too, not bothering to hide it. "You did it," Rebecca mouthed. He shook his head and mouthed back. "She did it." That night, after the gala, after all the congratulations and photographs, after Emma had fallen asleep in the car ride home, Rebecca sat with Ethan on her penthouse balcony. The city sprawled below them, a million lights in the darkness. "I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop," she admitted. "For this to fall apart somehow. It won't. You built something real. Emma's progress is real. We built it. I couldn't have done this without you." Ethan was quiet for a moment. "When Sarah died, I thought I'd never care about the research again. That I'd lost that part of myself. And now I think maybe I didn't lose it. Maybe it just changed shape. Became something more personal." Rebecca reached over and took his hand. "Thank you for not giving up on Emma. On me. Thank you for reminding me why the work matters." They sat in comfortable silence, their hands intertwined, while the city hummed below, and somewhere inside, Emma dreamed in sounds she was finally learning to share. 1 year after that morning in the park, Silent Voices had expanded to 3 cities. Emma's case became the foundation for new research protocols. Ethan published papers that revolutionized how professionals approached nonverbal children. Rebecca discovered that running a foundation meant more to her than running a corporation. She stepped down as CEO, stayed on the board, and devoted herself full-time to Silent Voices. The press called them the Healing Duo, features in major magazines, interviews on morning shows. But the real story happened in the quiet moments, like when Rebecca picked Emma up from school, and her daughter chattered about her day in halting but joyful sentences, or when Ethan brought Lily and Emma to the lab to show them the brain mapping equipment. And both girls asked 100 questions in that rapid-fire way only children can. Or the Sunday afternoons when both families would meet at the park where it all began. Watching the kids play while Rebecca and Ethan sat on that same bench, their shoulders touching. During one interview, the host asked Rebecca, "What's the most important thing you've learned this year?" Rebecca thought carefully. "I used to think language was about words, vocabulary and grammar, and proper pronunciation. But Ethan taught me that language is about connection. It's about meeting someone where they are and building bridges, not walls." The host turned to Ethan. "And you, Dr. Miller, what changed for you?" "I learned that grief doesn't have to be the end of purpose, that you can lose everything and still find reasons to keep going. Emma gave me that. Rebecca gave me that." After the cameras stopped rolling, they went backstage. Emma was waiting there with Lily, both girls wearing matching Silent Voices t-shirts. Emma tugged on Rebecca's sleeve and spoke clearly, her voice growing stronger every day. "Mom, can we get ice cream?" Such a simple sentence. Such an ordinary request. Rebecca knelt down, eye level with her daughter. "Yes, baby. We can get whatever you want." But what she was really saying was, "I hear you. I've always heard you. I just needed to learn how to listen. Another year passed. Silent voices grew beyond anyone's expectations. Rebecca and Ethan worked together so seamlessly that staff joked they shared one brain. They finished each other's sentences, anticipated each other's needs, moved through the office like a perfectly choreographed dance. Emma was now 8, speaking in full sentences, even if her pace was slower than other kids. She'd started regular school, joined an art club, made friends. Lily was 9, appointed herself Emma's fierce protector, and declared she wanted to be a speech therapist when she grew up. The two families spent so much time together that it started feeling like one family. Friday movie nights, weekend hiking trips, holiday dinners where Emma and Lily would perform elaborate skits they'd written together. Ethan's apartment and Rebecca's penthouse became interchangeable spaces. One evening, Rebecca was working late at the foundation office when Ethan came in with 2 cups of coffee. "You're going to burn out," he said, setting one on her desk. "Says the man who was here until 10 last night." "I had a good reason. I was avoiding talking to you." Rebecca looked up. Concerned about what? Ethan sat down, suddenly nervous in a way she rarely saw. "About the fact that I'm in love with you, and have been for months, and I don't know what to do about it." The words hung in the air between them. Rebecca's heart hammered. "Ethan, I know it's complicated. We work together. The girls are best friends. If this goes wrong, it affects everything. But I can't keep pretending I don't feel this way." Rebecca stood, walked around the desk. "You think I don't feel the same way? I've been terrified to say anything because I didn't want to mess this up. Emma adores you. Lily is like a second daughter to me. What we've built together, it's not just professional," Ethan finished. "No, it's not." They stood inches apart. "So what do we do?" Ethan asked softly. Rebecca smiled, that genuine smile that transformed her whole face. "I think we stop overthinking and just be honest with ourselves, with each other, with the girls. And if it doesn't work, then we handle it like adults." "But Ethan, I don't think it won't work. I think we've been building toward this since the moment you walked up to Emma at that park." He reached up, cupped her face gently. "I think you're right." When they kissed, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Like a sentence that had finally found its punctuation. The Silent Voices Foundation's 2nd anniversary gala was bigger than the first. 500 guests, national media coverage, success stories from families across the country. But for Rebecca, only one moment mattered. Halfway through the evening, during a lull in the speeches, Rebecca stepped onto the stage. She wasn't scheduled to speak. Ethan, sitting at a front table with both girls, looked confused. Rebecca took the microphone. "I'm going to do something unconventional," she began. 2 years ago, I thought control meant power. That if I could manage everything perfectly, I could protect the people I loved from pain. Then I met someone who taught me that real strength is vulnerability. That the bravest thing you can do is admit you need help." She gestured to Ethan. "Can you come up here?" He stood slowly. Lily and Emma giggling in excitement. They clearly knew something he didn't. On stage, Rebecca took his hands. The room was silent. "Ethan Miller, you didn't just help my daughter find her voice. You helped me find mine. The real one, not the corporate one. The voice that can admit fear and love and gratitude without armor." She released one of his hands to sign as she spoke, using the language Emma had taught them both. "Will you help me nurture these voices for the rest of our lives?" Ethan's eyes widened. "Rebecca, I'm asking you to marry me. In front of all these people. In front of our daughters. In front of everyone who's watched us build something beautiful together." Ethan laughed, that full-body laugh she loved. "That's not fair. I was planning to ask you next month. Is that a yes?" He signed back, his hands forming the symbols carefully. "Only if you agree to be my wife." From the audience, Emma's voice rang out clear and joyful. "Mom, I can hear happiness." The room erupted. Applause, laughter, tears. Rebecca and Ethan kissed, while Emma and Lily rushed the stage, wrapping their arms around both adults in a chaotic group hug. Cameras flashed. People cheered, but in that moment, the four of them existed in their own perfect bubble. A family forged not by blood or circumstance, but by choice. By showing up, by learning each other's languages. Later that night, after the crowd dispersed and the girls fell asleep in the car, Rebecca and Ethan stood in the empty ballroom. "We're really doing this," Ethan said. "Getting married. Becoming a family officially." "We've been a family for a while now," Rebecca replied. "This is just paperwork." He pulled her close. "I love you. I didn't think I'd ever say that to anyone again after Sarah. I love you too. And I think she'd be happy for you. For us. Yeah. I think she would." They swayed together in the empty room. No music playing. Just the sound of their breathing and the city outside the windows. Emma's voice echoed in Rebecca's memory. "I can hear happiness." She finally understood what her daughter meant. Happiness did have a sound. It sounded like laughter around a dinner table, like little girls planning their future, like a man who'd lost everything finding reasons to hope again. Like her own voice, finally saying what she felt without fear. It sounded like family, like home, like the beginning of everything.